I think the spring in my mouse is going out because I didn't mean to push that so quickly. I leaned on my mouse and do 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 do. I didn't say, "Hey, we're live."
Right. We can say it now, though.
Hey, we're live. Will, it is so good to see you, man. And you even changed it to say Chicago on your tag there. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, everyone. It's Will Middleton and Kurt Von Onen from LifterLMS. We're going to be here live for the next hour answering your questions about LifterLMS. So let us know in the comments where you're calling in from, and feel free to start populating the chat with questions if you have anything you'd like to see us dive into while we're live here. If we don't have a lot of questions in the chat, we'll dive into our YouTube. We'll dive into the Facebook. We'll get around and see some questions from the last week, but we want to prioritize those who made the time to join us live. So let us know in the chat where you're calling in from. Kurt's calling in from Kansas, and I'm calling in from Chicago, Illinois.
Sarah's with us today. She is from Seattle, Washington.
That's where I'm going after. On Monday, I'm flying out to Seattle to get settled into my apartment on South Weller.
Nice. Looks like Mark's coming to us from Fort Worth, Texas. I actually met a new friend here in Hutchinson, Kansas that works out of Fort Worth, but works remote. So he stays here in Kansas quite a bit and then goes to Fort Worth. He works on fighter jets and cool stuff like that there. Heather, I think Heather's been with us before. She's coming in from Pennsylvania. I was born and raised in Pennsylvania. I'm a Philly side boy. And gosh, Donna, I know Donna. Donna's here from New Jersey. Donna's been with LifterLMS for a while now, I think. And gosh, yeah, she's got Fluent and a couple of other cool products in her website. And Sarah says that she's going to Chicago next week, dude. So boom.
So we're gonna swap. I'm gonna go to Seattle and Sarah's gonna come to Chicago.
Yeah. Now Sarah, if you go back to Seattle, you can't be like following Will all over the country. What people will talk. All right. So, hey, if you guys got questions or things that you want to put into have us talk about today, we really do encourage you to put questions or comments into the chat. We moved to this StreamYard format. It seems like almost a year ago now, Will, and it seems to have worked out really, really, really well. So if you've got a question or a concern or something that's popping up in your site, or you have a question about what if you were to use Lifter, like how does access plans work? How does membership work? You ask us, we can jump into a screen share. We've got demo sites. We can go into all kinds of things here. So while you may think this is limited or that you can't get your answer, week after week, we prove that we can. So shoot us what you got and we can go from there.
Absolutely.
Have you run into any obstacles in the last week or so, Will, that I don't know about?
I was about to hit you with the same question. So you got to me first, like a standoff. So in the last week, thinking through what LifterLMS projects I've been working on, there was I'm doing some custom development for a LifterLMS website where they want the actual date format in the reporting because it says, the student completed the lesson on February 22, 2024, but they want it to say down to the minute because LifterLMS does store down to the second when students complete lessons in the database, but in the backend reporting, it only says the day. So I'm doing custom development on that Lifter site. And then the other Lifter project I've been working on is uploading new courses, that's a big challenge with course creators is like, I've created the content, I've got my videos and my text, and now I need to upload it in bulk. And I think the quizzes is the hardest part to upload in bulk. So I've been using that. Blue Ninjas has that add-on quiz import where I format the quizzes as a spreadsheet and then I upload it, and it makes it a bit easier. You do have to double check because it doesn't always select the right answer that you had selected in the spreadsheet. So you do have to double check your quizzes, but it's a big time saver with uploading quizzes. But that's what I've been working on this week.
It's cool. I actually had a problem I couldn't solve in a LifterLMS website this last week. Came up yesterday, and I thought it would, do I jump on a call and say, hi, I'm the expert hosting the call and I couldn't fix it? Or, that's kind of a weird thing to say on a pre-sales call. But here's what I did do, Will, because it was for one of our clients. I actually took on the liaison position, right? And then wrote the support ticket content for them, built the temporary admin credentials for the LifterLMS support team, and then copied the system report, right? And then put all that in. And, I just kind of thought, people that watch this pre-sales call, they might be thinking, oh, well, I couldn't do that, or I couldn't, because we come up with solutions. I should say you come up with solutions pretty frequently on screen with the screen shares. And people might look at that and go, oh, well, I couldn't do that, or my brain doesn't work that way, or that's not the way that, I think I could do that. And I thought this would be a good opportunity to just say, there is support. Lifter is a free plugin that you can download and you can use Facebook, and you can look at our webinars and get all kinds of help that way. Or if you went with one of our bundles, those bundles all come with support. And so you can send in a system report, you can submit a support ticket, and you can even give people access to your site so they can get in and duplicate your issue and help you out. So that's what I had to do on behalf of a client yesterday.
Absolutely. I've been going through a ticket too, and not on a Lifter site, but on a site where they have a map for all their properties across North America. And so we're having a problem with that plugin. So they don't want to, it's even like I can figure it out, but they don't want to pay me the hours to figure it out. So they just, as a freelancer, they're like, can you help us phrase the ticket? And that'll do the trick. But
yeah, that's actually my position with a couple of people that I support. So that's something that people don't realize is available, right? For instance, I don't think it's any secret that I work with WP Tonic on a contract basis, and I don't figure out all of their problems. In a lot of cases, I'm just the support liaison, right? That kind of generates the tickets, tracks the tickets, and then implements whatever the changes are required to make success happen.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to pay me by the hour to figure it out either.
Right. We do have some great questions coming in the chat, so we could go ahead and dive into these. So Donna asked, how do you upload in bulk? That's a good question. There's not a super out of the box strategy, but we could probably share some best tips, best practices. And I think I put in chat on all the platforms this quiz import export add-on I was talking about. That one allows you to, it's still copy and paste work. To copy and paste you might have like a Word document, you got to paste it into a spreadsheet in a very specific format to upload it to this way, but it still saves time for not having to load the LifterLMS quiz builder every time you click add new question, copy this, copy that. Like it's just, it saves, like it turns a 10-hour job into a 2-hour job, but it's still a 2-hour job with working with that add-on. But that's uploading quizzes specifically. As far as uploading lesson content and course content, I would say the best solution right now, it depends on where you have it too, because there's the Honors WP has this LearnDash LifterLMS migration. So if you happen to be on a LearnDash site and you're migrating to Lifter, or you're going from Lifter to Lifter, simple migration, pretty easy because it's already formatted in a lesson and course format. But if you have like Word documents on your computer or spreadsheets or a SCORM file or something like that, and you're trying to upload, that's where I would recommend probably WP All Import is one I've been using a lot. WP All Import, where I can format my my content in spreadsheets and then just upload it that way, or it's copying and pasting. So those are my tips. WP All Import and the quiz import export add-on from Woo Ninjas are my ways. But what about you, Kurt? Do you have any unlocks for bulk upload?
No, the WP All Import is the one that I've used in the past as well. In fact, I'm grabbing the link and putting it into the chat for us right now. And I've had good success with it. The other thing is, and this is where I think some people are kind of blown away that I think this way. All of these tools, all of these options, when you start talking about a bulk or an automation, because I hear automation come up all the time, I always go back to, why, and then what's your volume. In a lot of cases, the volume doesn't justify the extra work. And so, remember that all of these tools, WP All Import, bulk enrollment is one of them, because you can bulk enroll students, in LifterLMS. Sometimes it's just quicker and easier to just go to student management, add the students, or copy and paste from a Word doc into your lessons. Sometimes it's just easier and quicker to do that. But if your volume of a project is big enough, then you go, okay, does this automation make sense? Does this, bulk import tool make sense? Because you still have to structure it. You still have to deploy it. And then this is the killer. You still have to audit the work that you put up. You still have to look it over. You still have to go through it and make sure that it's formatted the way you anticipated, or that things didn't get garbly-gooked that's my technical word, garbly-gooked on the import.
Oh, yeah. All the time. And I give that advice out a lot, where people say, like, I'd like to do some automation and we got to look at the logistics. Are we turning a 5-hour project into a 10-hour project, or are we turning a 100-hour project into a 10-hour project?
Yeah. How much time is actually being saved? And from a development standpoint, when I do agency work and somebody says, oh, well, once the bulk upload happens, that's only going to take, half an hour. So they assume they're going to pay a half an hour. And it's like, no, you're paying 6 hours, because you got to develop, strategize, bring the content over. There's all that prep work that happens before the task itself. And so it's very important to understand what your straight cost is, and then what your hidden cost is. There's always a hidden cost. Some people would say, I could save time and go to Kajabi. Well, newsflash, I've been in the back end of Kajabi recently, and I didn't know where the heck to go. There's a learning curve to all of it, right? And so if you're paying people to do that, then it extends. So we have another question from Sarah. She says she has put some lessons into her LMS. However, when she tries to share on Zoom, she can't get the slide or the lesson to fill the screen. So I think she's getting kind of like almost like a light box effect, like you get with SCORM packages maybe. Is there a way to expand the slide so it'll be full screen for VLL?
Let me see. I wonder if, Sarah, can you put in chat what format you're doing? If it's like a PDF or a PPTX, like a PowerPoint, or something like that, or is it VLL? Is that a format? Is VLL a thing? File format?
I think she's talking video live learning.
Oh, okay, yeah, video live learning, yeah.
Yeah, video live learning, right? So a lot of folks will try to. It's kind of a weird deal, because you're putting your Zoom is like, you're thinking that's live screen, but that's actually showing an image of your computer screen, and then you have your website running, and then your lesson is inside that. Especially if you have a sidebar format, your lesson's kind of in that left side usually, right? And then if you pull up a document inside of that, it's usually inside of its light box instead of going to full screen. Whereas if it was like a YouTube video, you would click the option to go to full screen. So I think PowerPoint has the option to go to full screen, but if it's a PDF, you might have to play with that, or possibly download it and then show that as the full tab.
Yeah, I was thinking here in chat, it's just the entire screen, not the slide, virtual LED, and I put the slides in WordPress, and I want to avoid a PowerPoint.
Yeah, there's that plugin that does all documents. I have to look up the actual name of it because I'll screw it up. But it's all documents. Yeah, and then it treats the PowerPoint like a PowerPoint. It's what we use in our demo sites.
Yeah, I think it's embed any document.
Embed any document. That's it. Let me go find the link for you there. And what's cool about that is it's not just for PowerPoints. You could use it for other types of documents and experiment with how you get your screen to expand for you.
Yeah, this is the one we use. And there's a bunch of plugins that do this, Document Embedder, Embed Press. But this is the one that we've used to embed a PDF doc, PPT, or XLS document. So I don't know if we could like recreate the setup. So it's a virtual LED file. Like, I'm wondering, can I get a file like this on the internet and try it out on my demo site?
I would just go to our demo site with the course and find one that has the PowerPoint in it and pull it up and then see if we can make it full screen.
Yeah, I was wondering, like,
let's just do this thing.
it's not a document, it's just slides that I put into there for lessons. I'm going to duplicate this course to get it IG. I don't know what IG is other than Instagram. Let's see, slides. So a slides file, like, is it like a Google Slides document? Like, I'm wondering what the actual like file extension is that we're working with.
I'm starting to wonder if when she says slides, if she's just putting in, like a PNG.
Oh yeah, I mean, if it's PNG files or JPEGs.
Where it says section, I add a slide using media and photo. Yeah, so she's using a photo.
Okay, so you're just going straight from the media library with images here. That's a way.
Yep, you're on it. Yeah, so she's got a full image.
Cool. So if I throw, so I guess that's an interesting scenario. I've never tried to do this before with just putting some images in the lesson, but we could see what kind of. So if I put a couple of these on here, what's like the easiest way to present this?
Just go look at the. Yeah, she's on Zoom, so she's doing like what you're doing. She sees the lesson from that standpoint, and she wants to know if she can make that slide full image.
Oh, I see. So like get rid of this sidebar out here.
Awesome. Yep. So just click on one picture and see if you can see it full screen.
Oh yeah, I'm clicking on them and it's not working. So I guess with this, we can do. Thought we could do expand on click, but then this doesn't let us really scroll to the next images. So we might need to explore something like a slider or something like that. Like I can show that too. Like with cadence blocks, we can do some slider stuff. So if we click this, but I can't go to like the next slide. I'm clicking my arrow keys. So I could like expand my image. And this is Lifter Sky Pilot is how this is formatted with this like white background and the little X. So we could like use some CSS to make this full screen. But one thing I want to try is like, what if we, instead of doing the image blocks, we did like a cadence blocks. Have you used that one, Kurt? The cadence blocks slider thing?
I have not.
And I wonder if it's on a demo site, cadence blocks. And Spectra probably has something similar to this too, like advanced gallery. That's what I'm thinking of. And this is a free plugin on the WordPress repo that I've used a lot, where we can take,
and something else to know. Sarah only uses one image per lesson, so it doesn't need to be a gallery or a slider even.
Okay,
it just needs to be something she can expand to full screen.
Yeah. So does it look like what I had demoed before with just
that blown up picture is probably right on the money?
Yeah, where we select the image, and then in the image settings over here, we would just expand on click. And that might be perfect. And that way we don't have to go reformat, because with Lifter Sky Pilot, I'm not sure what theme Sarah's using, but we could eliminate the sidebar in a template if we're using Lifter Sky Pilot, or this might just do the trick.
I think that works really well. We'll have to see if she thinks it works really well.
Yeah, let's know in the chat, Sarah, if that sounds good. And in the meantime,
she's in Astra.
Oh, Astra. Well, this should work probably relatively similar in Astra.
Yeah, and I don't know if that option's available in Astra, but I think it is if you add the Spectra. So Spectra, and there I am saying words that people watching might not understand. Astra is a free theme, so Astra's free. And then there's a Astra Pro version, which gives you more design freedom. But then there's a Spectra, which is made by the same company as Astra. And Spectra also gives you some more design freedom. And it's a free tool that you can load in with your Astra theme. It's a plugin.
Awesome. Yeah. And it looks like that same strategy works with just the image block, but Spectra could unlock some more opportunities there as well.
Yeah, could mask it or do some other things. So I think you're off and running there, Sarah. I think you've got a workable solution to at least play with. It'll be a great head start on what you're trying to do. And if you do one image per lesson, boom. I can't help myself, Will. I can't help myself. If you're going to do like one image per lesson, depending on your audience, wouldn't it be cool if it was like an interactive, image or an interactive thing or something that had motion? And H5P would give you unbelievable activity that you could put right into your site by using short codes and develop some cool stuff. So if you want to do something more than an image, obviously you can do video, you can embed a YouTube, you can embed something, you can go to H5P, which gives you levels of interactivity, or of course you can stick with the pictures. If you take the pictures and touch them up in Canva, you could put other interactivities in that way too.
Yeah, and you could also use like fasttrack2eagle.com. You could use this tool that I've used called Draw Attention. I've seen a lot of Lifter users use this thing where you can actually hover over your images and do these little light box effects. And these are links to my lessons because this is like a LifterLMS course syllabus that I put on here. But you could do like a light box effect that has like, I've seen medical people do like a diagram of the human body, and when you hover over the individual pieces, it like highlights and gives you some information about this muscle group or whatever. Some cool stuff you could do there. But jumping on to this question from Mark, I've learned how to embed content from Adobe Animate into lessons. I have a couple of questions about the ability to mark a lesson complete upon an event, such as a student completes the interaction and does not have to refresh the page. So that's something that would go into Kurt's territory of like actual like authoring tools and SCORM and LRS territory, I think. Otherwise, might be some custom development. But I'm thinking that the SCORM would be the way to go there out of the box.
If he puts the Adobe Animate into a SCORM output that would be recognizable by Grassblade or something like that, then yeah, what you would do is upload it as SCORM with the Grassblade extension, and then add the Grassblade LRS, which would be a learning record store. And basically what the learning record store does is it takes all those activities that people do with something that's interactive or animated or something like that, and it can record the completion for you. This is another one of these things where I just want to throw this out there. It adds a level of complexity. If you don't have the user count, if you don't have enough examples within your lesson structure to do this over and over and over again and have an audience to share it with and track it with, the work to make it happen might not be worth the result. Whereas maybe just add a mark complete button at the bottom of the page and let the student mark it complete.
Yeah, and I think another possibility, if Mark, you're considering custom development, would be to have like some kind of a JavaScript running on the page that looks out for a certain HTML tag to be like activated. I don't know Adobe Animate files. I haven't worked with these before, but you might be able to have like IDs and elements. And if you can have an ID inside of your exported Adobe element, I don't know if it's like an HTML or whatever it is, but if you can get like an element ID to trigger as like completion of an event, something in your Adobe Animate file pops up with an ID on the page, then like a JavaScript file on your LifterLMS website could wait for that ID to appear and then do something like mark the lesson complete as an action once it sees that element appear on the page. So if you're considering custom development routes, that might be a way as well to be like, oh, I want to use an element ID within my Animate file to be identified from a JavaScript that's always running on the page, like a JavaScript file that's just sitting there waiting for that element to show up. That might be an option.
And I feel like I missed something somewhere, because that question was by Mark, right?
Yeah.
But he had another question in there that had to do with just 6 students or something like that. It's further down. It's so we'll get to that. It's coming. Mark, we're coming back to you. Don't worry about it. You went on to Heather. Sorry. I was getting all lost. And dude, we're doing good on comments. We asked for questions and comments and we got them, but now I'm getting lost.
No problem. Yeah, we can use that star feature too. That like little star thing. I hadn't used that too much, but we're using LifterLMS for a hybrid. Oh, the hybrid merit badge for Scouts BSA. I remember we had a site do that recently, or not recently, maybe like a year ago. But that's pretty cool, where they had the merit badge system automated. They took the merit badge paperwork and they made gravity forms out of all of the merit badge paperwork, which, I mean, Kurt, you know, the Boy Scouts, you're familiar with how extensive that paperwork is, where you select like different options of like, do 3 of A, B, C, D, or E. And then it's like the logic in the gravity forms thing would be so complex in the way he had that set up, but it's very possible. But each requirement is a lesson. So the merit badge counselor would like to have the scouts submit the requirement response for each lesson and have it compiled into a single document. This might be the same people we were talking to last year.
He was on a call last year.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, exactly. This is the same people. And said it's possible using forms. Okay, well, if I had read your whole question before I started talking, then I would have made that connection sooner. But the yeah, so I think who we talked to last year was using gravity forms, and so it's very complex what he was doing, but it worked. It was like basically gravity form can have conditional logic, so I'd recommend checking out the conditional logic feature of forms, where you can say like, if with questions like do 3 of the following A, B, C, D, or E, you would have like a checkbox that says like check the 3 that you're going to do, and then the A, B, C, D, or E questions would populate as required if the appropriate box was checked. So if you check box A, question A is going to show up. If you check and if you check box B, you'll get question B. And so then the scout would have to select 3, and then they would get those 3 questions, and then the gravity form would basically print into like you could do an email with it. You could create a post in WordPress. I did that with a client recently where they had this setup where they had forms within lessons. So they had their LifterLMS lessons, and it was Ninja Forms, but Gravity Forms would do the same thing. Ninja Forms could too. But when they submitted their little journal entry it was just a little 3-question prompt. It wasn't anything too extensive. They submitted that, and then it created a post in WordPress. It created a blog post. And the blog posts were only visible to the people who were the author of that post. So that's a way to do it, where it's like, you know, you submit the gravity form, it creates a blog post, but that blog post is only visible to the person who submitted it, and of course website admins. So there's all kinds of ways you could slice and dice it. I think the easier route would be to do an email, where you would have an email inbox. When the gravity form is submitted, it submits all the answers in an email to the counselor and an email to the student. And then you're basically using your inbox as like a document management place. I don't know. What do you think about that, Kurt?
Oh, pardon me. You're boring. No, the email solution for me and you works. But I also see in the question they want a document, and they want the document to consolidate the answers. And so everybody's got their own magic wish. I really like just sending it to an email, and then an administrator can always take that email and have it printed off or save it as a PDF or I mean, there's just a million things to do, but you got to send that data somewhere. That's the confusion that comes with forms, because people don't understand what a form really does, right? It takes that data, and then it's got to output that data to something. And so, you know, you could have it output, you know, possibly as a form, but then I think your question is asking, can you take multiple submissions from a single user and compile multiple submissions into a single document? And I think you probably could, but I think you would be looking at having that developed.
Yeah, or something real weird, like if you were to store all their answers on their user meta profile in the user meta, and then printing out, because LifterLMS has a custom fields add-on. We haven't been talking a lot about LifterLMS, so let me do custom fields add-on LifterLMS. Let me promote this for a minute. This might be something you could consider as well once it loads. Maybe it won't load. LifterLMS custom fields is there it goes, is an add-on that lets you basically, what it does is we have first name, last name out of the box in the free plugin. But if you wanted to do like company, job title, or like answer to question 1, or like, because those Boy Scout merit badges all have like 1.A, 1.B. So you could do like merit, the name of the field would be like merit badge X 1.A. And so that would be on the user profile, and you'd have like 1,000 user profile fields, and then you could print those out on an actual page in WordPress using the shortcode, because each of these items has a shortcode. Most commonly what people do with this is they say, what's your company that you work for? And then the student fills it out, and then that's printed on their certificate with the company name on it, with a little short code that the admin puts on the certificate. So so yeah, there might be something there. But then Heather also said we're pre-selecting requirements, so Will's conditional logic stuff doesn't really matter there. And yes, that's the question. The question of how to put it all in one document. Yeah, so probably custom fields. This is getting into some really complicated territory. And maybe, as Donna said, you could use a Google Sheet with Zapier, so you could like zap the information from your form into a Google Sheet for the student, and then there's a Google Sheet available to eventually be printable into a document. I think that's interesting because it offloads the data into Google, so it's not slowing down your WordPress website, taking up space in your WordPress database. And Heather, if you're comfortable with Zapier and Google Sheets and managing that integration between Gravity Forms, Zapier, Google Sheets, then you might be able to go ahead and do something like that.
Yeah, the hard part is parsing the information by user instead of just parsing the information by, entries received.
Yeah,
Right. So it's almost like you have to create a new Google Sheet for each user, which of course adds intricacy and difficulty to your automation process.
Yeah. Or like if you're a spreadsheet wizard, like my mom's a spreadsheet wizard accountant. So like one of the fields in the sheet could be the user ID of who submitted the form, and then the print command, like whenever we're ready to print it, you could just parse the data by the ID of the user. But that gets into some maybe kind of complicated territory. I think the question in general of how do we have students submit a bunch of Gravity forms and then compile the answers is complicated territory. So I think we're only going to really get some complicated answers there.
Yeah, I think the long and short answer is, the long and short answer is it's possible. You either have to, it's either a done for you or a do it yourself situation. Either way, it's going to take research, strategy, real clarification as to what the desired output is, and then work to make that happen. But it's possible.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next question. So, because we're 34 past the hour already. So, and the thank goodness the questions are coming. We like to handle them, but we need to make sure we get through some of them too. I'm having trouble accessing a course after purchasing from the website. This could go 20 different ways. So, MD Rashidul Islam Chowdhury, if you're on the call, we probably need some clarification. Usually when someone purchases a course, the access to that course is granted to their dashboard. So if they go to the dashboard, or if you've sold it through like, maybe a WooCommerce connection, then it would be in the My Account page under courses. However, I also got this weird buggy feeling when I read this question that you were purchasing the course and then not getting access to the course, like the purchase went through, but the access plan did not. It feels like the website's not working. If that's the case, this could be one of these caching calls that we carry sometimes. Caching on a learning management system website is a nightmare. And so if you have something in your website that has worked before and then all of a sudden isn't working, or kind of like someone has a new user account and then they can't log into their account, or they bought a course but they can't access the course, or they got enrolled into a membership and now they can't access the membership, right? But it's worked before, but now it's not working. In those situations, 90% of the time, I end up finding something wrong with the caching on that website, either caching on the site or caching at the server side, depending on who your host is. And so I really just wanted to highlight this question real quick because it could be one of two things. Either you don't have your access plan set up correctly so that people that buy the course get connected through the access plan, or a caching issue. What are your thoughts there, Will?
This has got to be caching, I think. I feel like, or if it's a WooCommerce, if you might be using WooCommerce, then maybe the enrollment we took a look at this last week, how the enrollment status needs to be set to, in the LifterLMS settings, you have to say when the order is processing, mark it as the enrolled for the student. It could be something like that too.
Yeah. Yeah. I could definitely see that being the case there. And then we got a bunch of comments from Sarah because we were working with her on that. So embed any document, it's an image. Here we are. There's the next one for Mark. And it said, we're doing instructor-led classes, and my plan is to assign a course to 6 students and then go through the content with them. Is it possible to create classes in Lifter to group the students by? Dun, 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 dun. What was released last year, Will?
Oh, look, the cohorts?
Cohorts. Yeah. We completely have cohorts now, Mark. So cohorts is exactly this. You have a group of students that you want to enroll through a certain enrollment period, and you want to give access for a certain access period to these students. That's exactly what cohorts allows you to do. And what's cool about cohorts, pardon me, is remember, any courses that you have in the catalog, you can either make them shown or hidden. And so you can choose when you have these cohorts, do you want that shown in the course catalog or not, right? So you might have, and I don't know if this is the Scouts one or not, but we'll say maybe it's Scouts Group A, Scouts Group B, Scouts Group C, and it's all the same course, but they're different cohorts of Scouts going through that course. I might have the Scouts course in my course catalog, but then like I might have A, B, and C, those cohorts that go through at different times. Those are hidden from the catalog, so it doesn't populate the catalog with a bunch of stuff that nobody can get to. The way that they get to the course is kind of what we were answering in that last question, is they always have access to the course through their My Account page. So they go to their dashboard or their My Account page, and the courses will be listed there, and they can go right into that. Are you doing a cohort demo? What are you doing?
Yeah, this is the LifterLMS course cohorts. Mark had asked in chat, is cohorts part of the purchase plan? And so LifterLMS cohorts is an add-on, and once you have that add-on installed, it's part of the Infinity bundle, or it could be purchased individually. If I go to the courses section, with that thing installed, what it does is it gives you this option right here for new cohort, and that's how you would create that copy. And if I launch into that, this is where we would create it. So it's actually like a cloned copy of the course, completely separate course. So in the back end, in the reporting, all the reporting is separate. You give your cohort a name, which is like Kurt was talking about here. It's a simple wizard that allows you to have that separation by cohort. Like, so if we say this is the Scouts March 2024, February is almost over. So the March 2024 Scouts, we could save and continue. And then we select the enrollment period. We don't really probably need an enrollment period, but we could say, enrollment starts today and it ends end of February. Boom. Then we do the time period and say that this course is going to be available starting March 1st. And then it's going to be only available for March 2024. So it's only going to be available for the month of March for the Scouts to get in there and get their merit badge done, because that makes sense for like a scouting example of like you have this time, because the counselors for merit badges often have other things in their life to do. So they have this limited time frame where they're committed to helping with the merit badge, and then we're going to move on. So it's available for this time. Then we can hide the previous one. If we had a February cohort, we could hide it because we don't need that one anymore from the catalog, and then we're ready to go. So no matter how you do it, the cohorts add-on can really slice and dice the enrollment for you.
Yeah, and I really like that it gives the enrollment availability, right? Because especially when you're working with Scouts or groups of kids like this, when you can say, hey, you can only enroll in this course for the month of October. We're teaching this course the month of November, and we're done by December. And then you're through it or you're not,
Yeah, for sure. I think, and then Mark said, oh yeah, that sounds like that extra user fields are things I need. Oh, the LifterLMS custom fields.
Custom fields, which comes with the Infinity plan as well.
Yep. And I think it's 50. I mean, it's a pre-sales call. We'll talk about it. I think it's like 50% off right now or something. If I go to the pricing page, yeah, it's 50% off. So they did a price increase, right, to 1,500. It was at 1,200, but then they did a 50% off sale right now. So
Now's the time.
50% off all this, like that's 500, that's 50, and this is 300, and that's 50% off. I don't know what first introductory pricing, save 50% on any new order. I mean, let's see, can I use this coupon to get 50 additional percent off, or is this just already applied or something?
I think it's already applied.
Why does it take me to the home page when I click add to cart? Okay. Yeah, it's already applied, so that, okay. But that's a really good deal. That's probably one of the better deals in the Infinity Bundle that's ever been put out there. And then David had a quick question about cohorts. What happens if you make changes to the course? Does it change all the cohorts? It does not. That's the nice thing about it, is that it can if you want it to. If you wanted to do like global or synced patterns, the WordPress editor has these items called synced patterns, where you could create a synced pattern in your course and then create a clone of it. And the synced pattern is nice because if I basically make this image into create a pattern, this is my image across all courses. If I were to make this a synced pattern and then I clone my course 10 times and it has the pattern in each of my courses, and then I change the image, it's going to update across all of them. So you could do it that way if you want it to be done, but by default, it does not change. If you were to change a cohort, it's not going to go back unless you're using the synced patterns feature. But we did have MD come back in a chat. Our website is WooCommerce. I think it might be the user role setup issue, maybe from WP Fusion. Can I set up user role for all courses at once in WP Fusion? User rule for all courses at once.
I think it means user role.
Yeah, I think. Do you think you could provide some more details about what you're doing with your setup? So it's like a WooCommerce purchase, and then WP Fusion adds like a tag, and then the tag enrolls the person in the course. Like with WP Fusion, you unlock a world of opportunities. You could create all kinds of stuff. And so I love WP Fusion. It's just there's instead of just access plans through Lifter or the Lifter WooCommerce extension, WP Fusion can do all kinds of stuff. Because with WP Fusion, for anyone who's not familiar with that one, it's on our recommended
resources.
Let's see if I can get there fast enough.
I'll put in the link to recommended resources in the chat as well.
Cool. Top 47 recommended resources. This is not the right link that I was looking for. I don't know where it's somewhere in here. LifterLMS.com/recommended-resources is the page. I don't know. Do pages even
in the chat?
Okay, awesome. It's in the chat. LifterLMS recommended resources, but WP Fusion allows you to create advanced automations. You can do things when a student completes a quiz, give them an active campaign tag, like send the data to the email list tool and tell them they completed the quiz. You could say when they purchase in WooCommerce, add a tag in active campaign, and then on a different website, which also has Lifter, you could say when this tag is given to somebody in active campaign, create them as a user and enroll them in the course. That's something I've used WP Fusion for a lot. People say I have a sales website and I have an LMS website and they're separate. I don't recommend doing that, but if you are in that position, WP Fusion can be the conduit for how you have purchase here, email list here, and then an enrollment in an LMS that happens all automatically across multiple websites. I love that.
Yeah, the addition of that question to add WP Fusion to the question with access on top of a WooCommerce integration, just to be honest, this call's meant as a pre-sales call for like entry-level stuff. This actually might be more of a support escalation. You know, just from where my brain is at. We're trying to cover a lot there. The WooCommerce integration with LifterLMS is very straightforward. So you would have your WooCommerce shopping cart that somebody would buy a product in WooCommerce, and when they buy that product, you have it ticked off in the LifterLMS access plan that access plan gets activated when they buy this product. So they buy this product, it activates this access plan, and it adds that course to their their dashboard. So it's a very simple thing. When you say, well, it's not working because we have a user role issue with WP Fusion, you might need to get some additional help there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And feel free to drop a support ticket to our team on that and see if they might be able to identify what's going on there, but they might forward you on to WP Fusion to take a look at that. We had a question from Rick in chat. When someone tries to access their purchase course from the confirmation email, if they are not logged in, it shows the error and does not redirect them to the login page. From the confirmation email. So that might be like a LifterLMS. LifterLMS is a few emails. If I jump to the back into WordPress, LifterLMS settings notifications is where we can find our emails. And so I'm assuming that what we're doing is we're taking a look at the student welcome email, probably this one right here, student welcome. And feel free to type in the chat, Rick, if I'm not looking at the right thing, but I think student welcome goes out to the students by default. It says, welcome to the site. Here's your login URL. It dynamically populates all this stuff for you. Like what the login URL is to your website. If they're not logged in, it shows an error and does not redirect them to the login page. I think, like Kurt mentioned, this might be an option to drop something on the WordPress forum. I hadn't seen that before, an error with the login page, because it might be something like if your permalinks are not set, or if I exit the setup in LifterLMS, if the post name is not set as the permalink style, then something like an error could happen because you go to like a 404 page, because we're expecting it to be yoursite.com/dashboard, but it might be /P123. And then it's like the plugin doesn't know what to do or what template to apply to the page. It could be something like that, or it could be something else. So that's one where the tech team would actually have to kind of see what's going on there. We want the user to be redirected to the login page if the user's not logged into the user account. So if you wanted to do something like, I don't know what the error is that's being shown, if it's maybe like a 404 error, resource not found, there are free plugins that I've used called like redirect 404 to homepage. I love that one. And you could even say redirect 404 to login page. Redirect 404. And that way there's not like a lot of 404 errors going on. And so you could do, a 404 error to a custom page and direct them to your login or something like that. Might be kind of a Band-Aid patch you could put on that. Then we have some more questions coming in from David Klein. If we use Ninja Forms to collect responses, Scout responses, can we export all of the responses for the individual lessons to a spreadsheet to grade their responses? Is there a way to send a response with feedback for improvement? If you were to send data to a spreadsheet, you could I think I'll get her name right. Who mentioned
Heather? I was going to say David and Heather need to have a conference call.
Oh, well, yeah, I think Donna had mentioned you could use Zapier, right? So you could use Zapier to drop the data into a sheet, but then it's like, then you'd also have to have a Zap that reads the Google Sheet and waits for updates to the Google Sheet to happen and then triggers some kind of automation to take the data elsewhere. And then it's also like, can you put 13-year-olds data in Zapier? Because you'd have to disclose that, like, 'cause Zapier does have access to the information. That's the thing about WP Fusion and Zapier is like WP Fusion goes from the server that you're hosted on directly to ActiveCampaign, directly to whatever. But Zapier is a third-party service that has access to the data. So I don't remember if with data privacy laws, if you can actually put data from young people on, you might be able to, but you want to confirm that, like, your data is disclosed with Zapier, so it needs to be a part of the privacy policy that everyone's aware of. But also there might be, I don't remember, I don't want to throw tarnish on Zapier's name, because you might be able to do that, but there might be like a specific different disclosure that you'd have to do, because some services don't like to handle data for people under 13 because there's different rules that apply to them, and scouts might be under 13 filling out a merit badge. So there's like, I would recommend not getting into this territory at all and just using LifterLMS custom fields and keeping all the data on your website, on your server, on your hosting, and then securing that.
There's another option here that, and I think we're maybe over confusing things. Yeah. If this is really a way to send feedback or look for improvement, which to me is coaching, LifterLMS has private areas, and you could absolutely coach the students. And then it's not the same as like texting or calling a student, because that data is still part of the website. So even though it's a private message, a private post, it's still stored within the site, which implies supervision and people that can, go over what was shared back and forth. So it's a semi-secure kind of way to do something and still have oversight.
Yeah, because there's like, I don't remember what the rules are, and they vary state by state, but it's like having minors data on a website and then having people under 13, there's like different privacy regulations. So I wouldn't even mess with sending data to Google and sending it to Zapier and sending it around. Like Kurt said, I think all in-house on the hosting that you're on.
I love Heather's comment. Says, I'm glad you're stressing that this is complicated. I'm the one that needs to implement it, and the merit badge counselor thinks it should be easy. I can't stress this enough, Heather. The biggest phrase that I can, and Will and I know this. If Will and I are on the same call and we're talking to a future client, when the client says, well, all you have to do is, we're instantly like, oh, there's the wrong client for us.
Right. And I think what I recommended in chat there would probably be the easiest way to do this, and you'd have to check it, would be if you were to do the custom fields in the user's profile, it means that all the data is all in-house and it never actually leaves the website. And then you could print it all on one page very easily, because your page would have like the merit badge questions along with a bunch of short codes. And as the scout fills it out, the page populates, and then they can just print that page over time. So it just updates as they answer questions. The question is, what happens when you put 100+ custom fields on a user's profile because you have so many questions? I've never done that before in Lifter, and there shouldn't be a problem with it because it's in the user meta. I think it's in the user meta in the database. So like, the page might take a hot minute to load for the scout when you have like a bunch of stuff populating on a page, but that's fine. The scout can wait 10 seconds for the page to load when they have like 100 questions. But I don't think that's an issue. Because you're not storing images, you're not storing videos in the database, you're just storing lines of text. And so like that shouldn't take up very much space and it shouldn't be a problem. But my recommendation probably for the easiest setup there is the Gravity Forms plus LifterLMS custom fields. And it's all in-house, all dynamically populated, easily printable, and there's no need to send data off server. And then the scouts can edit the custom fields when their answer is incomplete or insufficient. Yes. Yeah, right. Because Gravity Forms has an option to, I think Gravity Forms has an option to resubmit forms. And then the Gravity Forms are basically mapped to those user meta fields. So, I mean, I should probably show LifterLMS custom fields and how this works. So when we create, and I think Gravity Forms could create custom fields too, but my recommendation for the easiest setup here is when we have LifterLMS custom fields, we need to create a form so that we can create these fields. And we're not going to use this form anywhere. This is kind of a complicated setup, but we're not going to use it anywhere. We're just going to use this as a way to build our fields. So I'm going to throw all these in the trash. Okay. And
so I don't want to jump in too harshly. I have an example of a website that I can share without breaking any rules that shows a really complicated user account, like with tons of fields and tons of everything. It scrolls forever, but you can put all that junk in there. It doesn't break it.
Okay, awesome. And this is so like in the Boy Scouts thing, you'd have like 1A, whatever, that's your question, and you literally write out all the questions here, and then you'd have a user meta key. I would recommend changing this because this name right here is going to be very confusing later. So we would say like, what career do something like this you want, and then we'll just copy that. We'll put it as our field IDs. So in the database, this is going to be very easy. It's like, this is the name of the field. It's easily readable. And then when you create your Gravity Forms or Ninja Forms or whatever, the Ninja Forms will submit and they'll populate these user meta fields. And that way, and this is basically just an area where you could manage what fields are available. And then on the user profile, we're going to populate hundreds of questions there. You'd have, should be on here somewhere. I'm gonna like lose it and it's not on here. Maybe, I think I might need to actually fill out the field for one user in order for it to show any of them. But they'll show right here on the user profile page. And so they can also be viewed via a shortcode. I think that's the thing with LifterLMS custom fields, where like one user has to submit a field in order for it to populate on the user's dashboard here. It can't be null for everybody. But yeah, hopefully that kind of makes sense abstractly. This is a pretty deep project, and that's still a complicated setup, what I described there, but it's probably the simplest way.
Donna broke my heart, dude. Totally unrelated to anything you're talking about. She's heading over to the Van Life Summit, for which I am a registered attendee, and I'm giving up my Van Life Summit to be here talking to you folks.
Yeah, you have a Van Life Mañana. That's like your brand.
Yeah, Van Life Mañana. Yeah, Donna's over there. Good on her, man. That's awesome.
But yeah, I guess we're approaching the end of the call, and then David said the private messages worked, but the format of the messages were awkward. The formatting gets wiped out with some extra coding language. Do you know what language the private messages are in? I mean, the whole WordPress backend is generated from HTML. So like a private areas is a post type in WordPress that is only available. The private posts are only available to the student and the website admin. Everything on the front end is HTML and CSS. But this whole interface is generated with PHP. I don't know if that helps the markup and markdown. Well, there's like CSS from the theme is always going to kind of play a part, but most themes don't even declare style sheets for private areas. So it's going to be the stylings from the LifterLMS private areas plugin that are applied. There's not anything like crazy going on, like React or anything on the front end of the site. It's just CSS and HTML mostly. And there's not really a lot of JavaScript because there's no like, I'd have to look into it more to figure that out, but it should just be HTML and CSS.
Last question with Mark. LifterLMS, as far as I know, works with SkyPilot, right? Because you have to, well, LifterLMS, you have to have Elementor. Elementor works with SkyPilot.
Yeah, yeah. So the header and footer builder in Elementor does not work with SkyPilot very well, but the content area should be perfect.
Content area, yeah. If he's trying to do something with the menu, that might get really weird.
Yeah, and I think with David's question there, with the and Heather's there, I think that'd be like a support ticket kind of area where you'd want to ask the team about that. If I jump to the permalink of the student, it should look something like this, where we have the discussion forum with a bunch of comments. But if you're seeing something different than this, you might want to drop a ticket to the team on that, and they could take a look at what could be going on there.
Well, you know what time it is, Will.
It's top of the hour. That was a packed hour.
It was good. I'm glad that, a shout out to the folks that sent the questions, that had the comments, and not afraid to jump into the fray. That's awesome. We will see you next week. Have yourselves a wonderful, wonderful time. Oh, any questions with LifterLMS, just hit us up on lifterlms.com. Does that sound right?
Yeah.